Okay, so shall we try this again? This is take two for those of you keeping track. I'm checking to see what's going on with the online function here on my phone to make certain we are actually doing this, because unfortunately I just got kicked off of Facebook again, and it looks like with the last time we got about 10 seconds worth of video on there. I guess it could be worse. I could be on another network where the name has just been changed to a letter, but I'm not going to disparage anybody at this point in time because that's not their fault. That's connections here for right now. All right, let's try this again. We are on. It looks like we are showing up on video purposes, so it is 10 o'clock Eastern Time exactly. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austin Onek. Hello to everybody else who might be out there in those other time zones. We continue again to see some very hot conditions over the next few days, so stay tuned. We'll talk more about what's going on out there. I think we should start calling this the Way Out West segment because we are showing a lot from way several 100 miles away. Yesterday from my sister-in-law in Denver, today from our WDEF News 12 anchor on vacation, roving reporter Andrew Harrison, coming to you from Old Faithful in Yellowstone National Park. So thank you, Mr. Andrew, for that picture. Watch out for those sneaky buffalo out there. He sent us a picture of that earlier, and the prairie dogs. That was kind of cool as well. So for right now, if you got any pictures, please send them in to us, pictures at WDEF.com, or again, drop them to our Facebook, Twitter, or whatever they're calling themselves now, or Instagram page for more information. From the area around Island Cove, not showing a lot going on at this time. Skies have cleared out pretty nicely, and most of the clouds have gone from earlier. Not too sure what's happening here. I don't think that the airport lights, I've never seen those there before, but have to double check and see what exactly that could be flashing off in the distance. Otherwise, looking at a few people out and about on the water for tonight, but otherwise no major problems for right now. Downtown, looking at the area around the courthouse and looking back to the northeast, where we caught a very nice view of sunset reflecting off the thunderstorm clouds. More on that coming up here in just a little bit. Traffic at Lee Point, we are moving along pretty nicely at this time. No problems being seen on travel, no problems coming from the sky, so that's looking pretty good as well. And from the 2475 split near Chattanooga Red Wolf Stadium, a bit of a concern taking place for right now. Not entirely sure what's happening there, but a bit of a backup if you're heading from 75 north to 24 west. Usually this shows up a lot more during rush hour. It's not really showing up too much during the evening hours, but we did manage to pick up a little bit of a slowdown there. And from the News 12 studios, several dozen feet above my head, the north flank of Lookout Mountain and the lights of Broad Street showing up quite nicely for this evening. Again, for tonight, we should be looking at some pretty mild numbers out there. It's still in the lower 80s. Humidity's increased. Winds are out of the east-southeast, and we'll continue to see some very warm conditions throughout the rest of the evening. Low temperatures tonight, not really going all that low anytime soon. We did manage to hit our highs for the day. We were actually just a bit above normal, back in the lower 90s by a couple of degrees there. Spot on low temperatures this morning, behind for the month by over half an inch, behind for the year on rainfall by 1 2/3 inches. Record high today set back in 1952, and a record low set exactly 5 years earlier. And when your record lows get to the point where they are in the upper 50s, you know that you are smack in the middle of summertime, because if that's as cool as it gets around here on an extreme level in the modern era, that again is really something to take a look at when you have numbers like that are really just not all that cool, believe it or not. Heading out for a roll on the golf course tomorrow with the ball. Temperatures in the lower to mid 90s. Heat index temperatures pushing the potential for heat advisory numbers, which is 105 plus. So when the air temperature and the humidity gets to this level on that feels like index, it becomes almost dangerous to be outside doing a whole bunch of exercise. So please consider that if you're going to be doing anything outdoors. That includes going out to catch a fish. Again, bring that water along, drink back what your body sweats away, and replenish that water so you don't get dehydrated, and it can happen very, very quickly. So take care of yourself, take care of others around you. make sure that you're paying attention to what's going on out there for everybody. Mid to upper 60s, a little nicer up toward Mont Eagle. The area around western North Carolina, Murphy at the lower 70s. Same thing for Blue Ridge, Georgia. Mid to upper 70s to lower 80s across much of the area for the 10 o'clock hour. We did manage to pick up a couple of pretty good thunderstorms early on, but as of right now, outside of a couple of very light showers trying to hang on Titan radar, there's really little, if anything, taking place for right now. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, going back to the north, there are a couple thunderstorms well back on up into areas north of the Tennessee-Kentucky line. Some of these are drifting their way to the south and trying to refire. As these thunderstorms, these kind of pulse-type thunderstorms, they develop, drift, collapse, and then start back over again. As the thunderstorms collapse, they send out a wave of energy in the atmosphere. It's called an outflow boundary, and that is where we may see that impulse start up new thunderstorms. But there's nothing really major right now, so I would say a chance of a shower or thunderstorm for the rest of the evening, maybe into very early Wednesday morning. Beyond that, we're just not really seeing too much of anything out there for right now. All right, let's go ahead and get to the maps, and we've got tons of fronts hanging around the area. These used to be warm front or cool fronts. The alternating red-blue pattern, that means that it is stationary. It's not moving all that much. And these fronts, because high pressure is kind of blocking things off the East Coast and down toward the Gulf Coast, that means these fronts really just can't go anyplace. So for right now, we see again the potential for less in the way of very cool air, because all this warm moist air is stacked up here thanks to this high pressure. And then we see again these fronts eventually next day or two, they're just going to wash out in the atmosphere. If nothing's moving them one direction or the other, they just sort of sit there, and it's kind of like your breakfast cereal, to where everything just starts getting mushy and falls apart. That's what happens to these fronts. The division between colder and warmer air goes away, and there's really not that much to be considered after that. It's just a boundary in the atmosphere. It can start up showers and thunderstorms out there. Okay, finally we're catching up with things here. Apologies for the lag on the video for tonight, and the messages are starting to come in. Bishop Bob Midget, welcome. Good evening to you as well. Thank you very much. Let's see, sending a message about tomorrow morning on as a special guest. Sounds good to me. I'd love to be able to do that. Just let me know. I'm still getting used to this Eastern time zone thing, so and after we get done at about midnight here, it takes me a little while to get going, so be glad to be on the show, but give me enough warning so I can brew enough coffee so I can be at least semi-coherent for your listeners, just to be on the safe side there. I'm not a morning person. I never have been. I don't understand people who are. Just throwing that out there. That's nothing to do with weather. That's just me. But again, it's one of those things that I just don't get. So I need some coffee to really help get me going on stuff like that. All right, let's take a look and switch back to weather, getting off my soapbox into tomorrow morning. We may see again the potential of a few showers and thunderstorms north of us. Low temperatures tomorrow morning. I think that these models are getting a little over enthusiastic about the fronts bringing in some cooler air, because I don't think we'll be dropping into the lower 60s anytime soon. I do think that we will see some temperatures in the upper 60s to lower 70s. We've been in the lower 70s for the last couple of days, Chances of showers and thunderstorms a little bit closer toward Atlanta and off toward the Carolinas. Maybe some of that could wander our direction, but really not much of any chance of anything major. And of course, notice again the temperatures as we go into tomorrow, easily going back into around the mid 90s. Now, when your low temperatures in the morning hours only want to drop to the mid 70s, that gives you a clue that what follows during the afternoon is going to be very toasty. And in fact, it looks like some parts of Middle Tennessee briefly might make their way toward the century mark, as we might get up into the mid to upper 90s by the time we hit Thursday. So a very hot couple of days coming up. Please keep that in mind again for what we're looking at for there. For early Friday morning, again, lower to mid 70s. So that being said, as we get into around the area of the early morning hours, if we start to see temperatures only that low, then it's a good possibility that by the afternoon, yeah, once again, it looks like maybe a stray shower or thunderstorm will be possible, but we're talking about a less than 1 in 10 chance. And temperatures, again, way into the mid to upper 90s. That's not record breaking. You got to go triple digits for that to happen. So for right now, that is where we see that possibility of some issues coming up with the temperatures. Not going to be changing anytime soon. The Climate Prediction Center's 6 to 10 day medium range forecast, this is where we have, again, the potential for a lot of heat and humidity going on. And this pattern, again, over 6 to 10 days does not look to be changing that much. We need a big shift in the atmosphere to drive this heat out, to get rid of those areas of high pressure, and to give us some potentially cooler conditions. But that's not going to happen, it looks like, until early August at the earliest. And even then, we're just not seeing anything major out there for a lot of any cool downs coming through. So no good news here, unfortunately, as we get into the dog days of summer. The rest of the forecast, again, not seeing a lot of change, a lot of sunshine. Temperatures will be above normal in the upper 90s, mid to upper 90s, and that's about as cool as it gets in the morning, lower to mid 70s, and that is really going to do it for the potential of anything cooler. So we are getting into the most stifling, hottest part of summertime, which is pretty typical for here, right about July into August. So we're right on schedule for that. Nothing to say we have to enjoy it, but again, for some people, summer is their jam. It's what they do, and if it is, congratulations. I'm more of an autumn myself, if I did have to say anything there. Let's take a quick break and take a look down to the South Pole, where the moon has risen, and the temperatures a couple of hours ago making their way into the mid to upper 70 below range. That's minus 76 air temperature at Amundsen Scott South Pole Station. It's wintertime down there, remember, but conditions are actually pretty good for Antarctica. You can see clearly that's condition 1. If you get to condition 3, you're in big trouble, and you can't even go between the buildings out there. The winds about 15-20 knots. That's taking the wind chill down to minus 120 degrees, to where any exposed flesh could freeze within seconds. That is some very cold weather taking place there. And from our neighbor a little farther out into the solar system, first of all, from the Curiosity rover, temperature in Gale Crater near the equator, where it's early winter, temperature for a high of 18 degrees below zero. Why are we featuring this? You may be asking, because at least we get something out there to cool us off, at least mentally. So I try to take a look at some of the coldest weather that we could possibly have with weather reports coming in from Mars, which is pretty doggone cool, you really have to admit. Taking a look at numbers back in the minus 112 temperature for a low. And again, that's not too shabby for Mars, actually. It's really interesting to take a look at the area of the other rover that's still out there. Curiosity has been on Mars for 3,892 Martian days. That's the sol that you see there. Their days on Mars are a little bit longer than ours by about almost an hour or so, so it's about 24 hours plus 55 minutes or so. And this rover is showing, again, temperatures back into the mid. Let's see, I just did that one. Let me see, what did I do with? So that's okay. Perseverance. There we go. That's what I was looking for. The Perseverance rover has been on Mars for 861 sols, 861 Martian days, and this one a high temperature of -4. A little sooner on that one. This is only a 3-day-old weather report, which is normal. These reports come in a little bit more staggered, so we see them a few days at a time, every once in a while, not every day like what we're used to here. -4 is actually for this area of Mars at the Cetus Planitia region in Jezero Crater. That's pretty warm for Martian temperatures. If you start getting up to, say, plus 10 degrees, that's almost summertime heat wave temperatures on Mars. -4, that's not bad. That's, again, pretty typical for this time of the year where this is located, but not bad considering what it could be with dust storms and very thin atmosphere there. So a low temperature, 100 degrees cooler, so that gives you an idea as to how big the swing is out there. I want to take you into the tropics real quick because we do have a lot of news taking place here, and we're running out of room for the graphics. We have 3 storm systems right now keeping an eye on things. Number 1 is down close to South America, but the 2-day and the 7-day outlook are pretty much at goose egg, so we're not seeing much of anything here. Again, days 0 through 2 and then 2 through 7. Number 1 reading here, number 2 reading there. The second storm system just off the coast of Africa. This one stands a little bit more of a chance of development. That'll take it looks like north of the Leeward Islands following this storm system, and that's the one I think we need to be paying attention to. It's aiming right for the southeast United States coast, Florida, South Carolina, Georgia. That could be a bit of an impact there, but the chances of it developing into something 1 in 10, so not much of anything here. But we are approaching that time of the year where the ocean gets a little hotter. It's already way too hot to begin with. Matter of fact, temperatures near the Keys yesterday and the day before water temperature topping 100 degrees in the water for the first 5 feet of the ocean. So that's not only way off normal, that is scary in and of itself to be able to see temperatures like that this early. We are talking about a very hot ocean that is trying to absorb the heat from the atmosphere that is being changed by humans by using fossil fuels. So for right now, that is what may cause stronger storms to pop up, and that's what we may be looking for. Now from this system here, this one actually got organized enough to where it does have a designation, and that one is Invest 95L, unless, of course, let me see, okay, Invest 95L is still going on. I should have checked that before I got on the air, but I just wanted to make certain. Invest 95L is, again, just out here. It's not popping up anytime soon here. They may have removed the designation at this time, but the storm system, the impulse of energy, as it goes farther west, it looks like it's going to be going from where it is close to the Leeward Islands and then aiming for Central America. So this does not look to be a major threat to the United States. Might do the same thing as I believe Tropical Storm Brett might cross over Central America and head into the Pacific and then get a new name if it redevelops. And with that warm water right there, it's a good bet that it probably might do something like that. So for right now, that is what we're looking at for the potential from that storm here. The other one just north of that area into and around right off the southeast United States coast. That is where we may see the problems coming through when it comes to anything involving the potential of a development of another possible storm system. This one right here. So if it gets stronger, which right now, again, 10% in the next 2 to 7 days, doesn't really seem likely, but that's something, again, to watch out as we see these storm systems develop and continue to do so throughout the next several days. So getting into the thick of hurricane season, it's definitely time to prepare on that. Let's see, what do we have? Not much left for tonight. Again, if you have a National Weather Service radio, please get it programmed when nothing is going on. That is the perfect time to make certain that you have a weather radio that's ready to go. Again, this is an important tool to keep in your home. You should have multiple ways of getting weather information from us at News 12 and the media, from your cell phone, from this weather radio. Don't rely on tornado sirens. Chattanooga, where we're coming from, does not have tornado sirens. The sirens around here are dedicated to the potential of a nuclear accident and sounding the alarm to evacuate. So we don't even have tornado sirens around this area of Tennessee. I've never been in an area without tornado sirens per se, so kind of unique to be in that type of a situation. So this could save your life. Get it programmed. Go to our website, wdef.com/weather, and we'll be a section of video on the website that'll help you learn a little bit more as to what's going on there. I think that should wrap it up for tonight. We've got, again, little, if anything, to talk about outside of the heat and the humidity, and goodness knows there's plenty of that to go around, so we'll be stuck with that for the next several days. Again, we'll have more information on the forecast at our website, wdef.com/weather, and of course we'll have more with News 12's Chip Chapman. That'll be bright and early Wednesday morning, peak of the week tomorrow, so tune in at 5 a.m. for some information about what's going on with your forecast out there. And of course I'll be on with Kay Blevins, who's filling in for the vacationing Emily and Andrew for tonight on News 12 at 11. 11, so stay tuned for more there. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austin Onig. You've been watching News 12's Weather Overtime from Chattanooga, Tennessee. That's WDEF.com/weather for more. Stay tuned for more with News 12 on air, online, and thanks for joining us here tonight for tonight's Weather Overtime.